Okay. All right. So this is the day to start of day 46. Day 46. Mrs. Grayson is dropping me back off at the trailhead at Three Ridges Mountain Overlook. Plan today is to hike till I can't hike anymore. No, to hike a good ways, either 12 to 14. Same old story. The topography looks fairly gentle, but the trail always has surprises. So I'm either going to make a stealth camp somewhere 12, 13 miles, or I'm going to try to make it to the Palsy Wolf Shelter, which would be awesome. That would be 14. 14 means 7 hours of hiking. So that's kind of the plan. You like my new head gear here? Sun has become an issue. I don't like sunscreen. I'm just trying different things. I'm going to try this sun hat today. Hats make you hot. So I'm not, I don't know if this one's going to stay or not, but since it's 2 days, today and tomorrow, back to a pickup. And so I've got a little time to experiment with some stuff without huge ramifications. The pickup they're going to do tomorrow, they're going to pick me up, take me home. I'm going to do a quick resupply. Then they're going to skip me forward up to 33 because I've slack packed the southern part of Shenandoah National Park. I'm going to start there. Plan is to try to make, I don't know, 2-3 miles and make a camp in the evening, and then take off and try to complete Shenandoah National Park. It's about 60 miles. Love to do it in 4. Have a notion it's going to be 5. You just don't know. So you kind of got my plan in my scoop today. Like I said, the terrain looks fairly even. You know, the trail always gives you things, some things good, some things bad. After those 2 bad days of rain, I realized I had a chafing problem, so I'm dealing with that. So far I've got some stuff I'm trying here. We'll see how that works out for today. It doesn't usually bother me till near the end of the day when I get really hot and sweaty, so we'll see what happens today. The weather is kind of overcast at the moment, but that can change anytime. So I'll give you a view. This is a little rocky here. Not too bad, but a little rocky. And so we just got to hike. Just got to hike for 7 hours. So one of the things I'm discovering is that the type, I'm not totally type A, but the type A in me just wants to get to camp and push on and knock out the miles. It won't happen today, but it's nice to have by 1 o'clock. It's nice to have more than half your miles out of the way. And been discovering that there is real benefit in some rest breaks. So I try to take a little mini break every hour and a longer rest break, 15-20 minutes, 2 hours, and then at noon, around noontime, 1 o'clock, 1:30, it's really good to just stop, take the pack off. Sometimes I get out a little sleeping pad that I have, and just lay down and take a little nap, and it's really rejuvenating. So that's just what's on tap for today. Random musings of a 65-year-old thru hiker. So I'm taking you along with me. Thanks for coming along for the ride. I don't know if you saw that or not, but I slipped on that rock there. Caught myself. Rocks plus water equals slick. So anyway, that was a really neat set of, I guess, springs, streams coming out of the side of the mountain. Okay, it's about 5 o'clock. I've decided to go into the shelter, which will make a 14-mile day. So I have about 3 miles to go, which is roughly an hour and a half of hiking time. I'm kind of tired. The trail has been really pretty, but it's been really rocky, so I've been picking my way through rocks a lot of the day. I can't tell you how many streams I've crossed today. Rivulets, a lot of them probably are just weeping because they've had so much rain here in the last little while, but it's overcast. We had a little light rain event here back 20 minutes ago, lasted 45 minutes or something like that. Didn't put down a lot of rain, but I know there's a chance of rain showers tonight, so I'm trying to get to the shelter to give myself options. I want to set up to camp outside, but if something would really, if I'd get there and we get a really bad thunderstorm, I would have the option to just take my stuff inside and be a little bit more protected. So that's kind of the thing here. You're at the point when you've been hiking, let me see, 6 hours and 18 minutes. You just kind of gut it out. So I've got about an hour and a half, maybe not quite that much. It looks like actually I've got about an hour. So we'll get there when we get there, and then set up the hammock and take a long, well-deserved rest. So today hasn't been a bad day. I haven't felt extraordinarily strong. I think I worked pretty hard yesterday on that climb, and it shows. Even though I pumped a lot of calories in my body, sometimes it takes a little while to recovery. But the motor's still running, and I feel like just a little bit ago I kind of getting a little bit of a second wind to push me into the shelter. So I'm taking you along with me. Okay, well, I have some pretty decent trail here. Of course, as soon as I get out the camera, some rocks show up. Anyway, trail's pretty decent here. Wanted to talk about a couple things. One is hiker hunger. What is it? And so I think I'm starting to get hiker hunger. Last night was at home, ate my wife's supper. We went out to do a little shopping, and said I'm really hungry for a Whopper and fries. So I bought a Whopper and fries, ate all that. Didn't feel like I was in any way stuffed, and added some more snacks before I went to bed. I've been kind of noticing a correlation that when I get more calories in, that my performance the next day is better. So I'm taking measures to try to get enough calories in. So along with that, at this point I've lost 14, maybe 15 pounds. Some of that is definitely good riddance. I had a doctor appointment some years ago, and he said, well, for your body type, you'd be good at 165 to 175. Well, I'm down to about 175, so I'm entering that territory of being a good body weight. So still have some persistent belly fat, but the goal is to not get to a point where your body's losing, needing so much energy that it starts eating your muscles. Very counterproductive on a through hike. So my strategies going forward are this: when I can have access to, I call it town food, just eat it as much as I can. The other thing I've added back, I don't know if you recall in the beginning, but I was using coconut oil put in each of my meals. that worked, but it was a problem in cooler weather. I don't think I would have that problem now, but I've added like a 16-ounce bottle of extra virgin olive oil. Try to put a good slurp of that in my breakfast and in my evening meal. And I've been trying to pack more snacks. So instead of five snacks at 200-ish calories, I'm trying to at least do 7, and then I carry an extra bag of snacks that I eat out of sometimes during the day at a lunch break. So I'm trying to get more calories in to mitigate that. It's not that I mind weight loss, but I don't want muscle loss. I need all the muscles I can get out here. So that's topic number 1. Topic number 2 is poison ivy. It is all over. And one of the transfer points I don't think you would think about is my trekking poles. How easy is it to brush my trekking poles against poison ivy? And then eventually maybe brush that against my leg. And voila! We've got poison ivy. So, you know, as popular as this plant is, it should be the state plant. Like I think I said before in another video, at some point you would think that somebody would find something useful to do with this plant. There's got to be something. Hello. You made it up over the hill. So anyway, that was a hiker I met yesterday. I was climbing without a pack, and she was laboring up that long climb with a full pack. So she's getting some water there. Water is fairly readily available today. So I tanked up pretty good before I left home. Even drank some when I left the car. Just to start out so I'm not in a deficit. Water is heavy. I'm carrying 1 liter of electrolytes, which in a mile or so I'll stop and I'll drink a pretty good slug of. The electrolytes really help with things like cramps and fatigue, and you just need them. It's something I learned a couple years ago in a section hike. One day my son and I were hiking with a thru hiker, and we were climbing McAfee Knob, and McAfee Knob is a fairly stout climb, and we were drinking, and we could just never seem to get enough. And he said, I think you need electrolytes. So it wasn't that day, but the next day when we finally got in town, first place we headed was a convenience store, pumped down a Gatorade, ate a banana for potassium, Gatorade for the other things, and some sugar, and it almost immediately relieved my thirst. So I carry and drink at least 1 liter of electrolytes every day. Haven't figured out what I'll do when I get into hotter days. I may carry more than that, but these are all things that you don't have to worry about on a day hike, but on a long-term hike you really do. So, oh boy, here's some more fun. Stairway to heaven. Thank you, Lord, for the rocks. Did you know that mountains are made of rocks? It's interesting. You'll go for a section like that, and you'll be really rocky, and then it'll be really gradual. It's kind of like the earth just belches out rocks at certain points, oftentimes in hollows. The other thing that I've learned is that usually there are rocks near water, believe it or not. So when you see on your map that there's going to be water, there's probably going to be some rocks. Streams have rocks, springs have rocks, so it's like water pools in the cavities of these rocks and then runs out at certain places. So anyway, random trail musings from Grayson this morning. The trail has had some rocky sections that were, I wouldn't say challenging, but they just make walking slower, and it's had some really nice cruisy sections. So anyway, day 46, taking you along. I was talking with Mrs. Grayson in the car today, and just can't hardly believe that it's been this many days. I find each day a new and different challenge. You know, today's challenge will be, I don't know. It might be that even though the terrain is pretty gentle, there are a lot of rocks. And so a lot of rocks take a little bit more energy, and it's harder to make big miles and go slower. I try to hike an average of 2 miles an hour. That's just kind of my normal gait, but you throw in a bunch of rocks or a long climb, and that sometimes drops back to 1.5 miles. And so I do a lot of mental math, determining where I'm going to be at what time. You want to be able to make it to shelter or a campsite an appropriate time to set up. I generally am pretty conservative about that, and as I pick up my miles, I may have to be less conservative about that. Hiking later, the days are getting longer. Look, today sundown is 8:20, so that's a lot longer than it was back at the beginning of April, which was maybe 7:30. So just finding ways to do it. The terrain, though, here in the Blue Ridge Parkway section here before we get to Shenandoah National Park and Shenandoah National Park, is in general a lot easier. There are still some features in Virginia to look forward to. One of them is called the roller coaster, which is just a series of short, steep climbs followed by short, steep descents for about a 10-mile stretch. I think there's relatively little, if no, water in that stretch, so you have to carry water, and if you're doing it when it's hot, it's a lot of exertion. So things to look forward to. After the roller coaster, I checked today in Virginia, and when I complete tomorrow, I will have 120 miles left in Virginia, and that will close out basically 500 miles of hiking in Virginia. Not quite a quarter of the trail, but very close. Kind of a milestone. There's a few miles in West Virginia. I forget how many, maybe 12 on the way into Harper's Ferry. Then Maryland has, I believe, 46. And then Pennsylvania has more miles. Pennsylvania has a southern portion that's fairly level. I mean, fairly. All of Pennsylvania has very gentle elevation changes, or like the highest mountains and stuff they have are maybe 1,500 feet. What Pennsylvania has in the northern section is about 80 miles of rocks, just incessant rocks, no breaks, just rocks. And so it affectionately wins the name Rocksylvania. And I understand that it doesn't stop on the Pennsylvania border. It goes on into New Jersey, the next state. A lot of people say, well, you think of New Jersey and you think of New York City, but Jersey has a lot of rural in the western part of the state. And from a friend of mine that hiked through there several years ago, and I watched his videos, there's some really beautiful territory in New Jersey once you get out of the 30 miles of rocks. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing some new territory. and getting Virginia behind me. When I leave Virginia, I kind of leave my crutches. I've had crutches for resupply and some things like that, especially being closer here to home now. And so I'm going to have to sharpen my decision-making skills, my town resupply skills, but that'll come. The goal, I think, for me is to, well, it's just to take it as it comes and not be hard on myself. I resupplied in town a while back and didn't think I did a terribly great job. It wasn't too bad. So I just sharpen my skills. You have to think, what am I actually going to eat? How much can I carry? Food is probably the heaviest thing in your pack, especially if you do a resupply for like 4 or 5 days. If you have options to get into town every several days, maybe it's better to carry only 3 days of food. And then so it's just it's a whole mental game, and I'm still getting used to it. I read a thru hiker book by a guy that thru hiked a couple of years ago, and he said it really takes at least 6 weeks to establish new habits. And so I'm establishing some new habits, but I think because I've had kind of a lifeline at my disposal, that I still have some new habits to learn. How often do you duck into a hostel? You know, when is it a good time to take a dash from the trail because of weather? You know, all kinds of different decisions. So honestly, this journey so far has been an intense journey of making decisions, and oftentimes in a compressed time frame. Oh look, we have water and we have rocks. Just anyway, well, I've rambled on enough here. I don't want this video to get really long for today, but thanks for coming along with me. I'll keep taking you along for the ride. So I'll do a day 46 wrap up. I'm staying tonight at the Policy Wolf Shelter, and I'm staying inside. That's a departure from my normal hammocking. But they're calling for overnight thunderstorms, and if that happens, I don't like packing up wet stuff. So I have some stuff to go to ground. I haven't ever done it before, so we'll just see how I like the sleeping pad. The one thing I don't know how it's going to work out is that I need to go to the bathroom a couple times in the middle of the night. I'm going to have to do it and be quiet. There's 6 or 7 people in the shelter, so anyway, that's kind of where we're at. Everybody's settling down here at 7:41, so everybody's settling down before it gets dark. I'm bushed. 14 miles. It was one of those up and down days where it starts out everything's good, and then in the middle of the day kind of bonk, and then I just push on through. I got up to the top of the highest climb. I'll show you some photos in the video, and didn't have a lot of scenery, but saw a lot of clouds blowing in and a lot of wind, and so that kind of made me concerned. And then I hiked on, and about 8.5, 9 miles in, it started to rain. It didn't rain hard for too long. Got out my rain gear and hiked gentle, and I stayed dry. And then after that, I seemed to have some more energy. So anyway, that's the end of day 46. It's been a good day. It's been a long day. I pushed more miles today. I'm kind of proud of myself. Sometimes, you know, you have accusations of yourself. And one of the things that I've accused myself over the years is not pushing hard enough. It may not be true, but that's what I've accused myself of. And today that was not true. I pushed on through rain and through being fatigued, and got to the shelter here. It sets me up for about a 5-mile out tomorrow. I'm going to go out, resupply, and hopefully get back on trail the same day. So I'll keep taking you guys with me.